Hello everyone, welcome to next session of our training. In this particular session, we will briefly see gateway and web process. So far we have seen about process, and now let us move little bit and see the Java process, how it's going to work. First, let's see what is gateway communication. Gateway, as you know, this will be used to communicate one system to another SAP system. It is possible it could be used for one system to another SAP system as well, or you can also use gateway for communication from one instance to another instance. In general, by default, this gateway is already enabled in your SAP system. In the normal installations, let's say if it is a very small installation, we don't configure the gateways, so you don't really recognize this gateway is being used in your landscape and how it is being used. By default, the gateway is already present in your SAP instance. You will also find a gateway with the name which is ending with the instance number. So the gateway service generally will be used to communicate one system to another system. Generally, it's used for the inbound call. So whenever there is an inbound call, then it will be accepted through gateway, then goes to the dispatcher. So if you want to communicate from one system or one instance to another instance or another system, then gateway is being used. In general, as I said, by default, it will use a default gateway. That's the reason we don't really notice this, how the gateway is being used. So in general, so the gateway is already available. However, if let's assume your landscape it is quite big and you wanted to put the security policies in place, or for different reasons you want to have a separate service as gateway, then you can install gateway instances where you can configure the incoming calls of the specific servers and outgoing calls of the specific servers. So you can also install gateway as an instance. In general, you will also use gateway for RFC as well as CPIC communication. So if you use an external gateway, then it's quite easy that you can manage the gateway properly. Then you can monitor how many RFC calls, how many incoming calls are coming to your system. So that's the reason we use gateways. So in general, you can also see here, you have a CRM system and also an ECC system, where in between these is communicated using RFC calls, where we will be using gateway mainly in these scenarios. We'll also see how to configure RFC. When you configure RFC, we'll also use the gateway extensively in RFCs. But in general, if you don't configure the RFC, then it will take the default gateway for the specific system which we are configuring. Next, let us see how the web request works. Web request, as you know, this is coming from a browser, from the internet. Let's assume you are getting some request from internet. Means in the older days we used to have a separate system which is called ITS, Internet Transaction Servers. So this ITS servers, older days it used to be a separate box. You need to install it separately. So from VAS web access technology came into place, that 6.0 and 6.2 and 6.4. From that time onwards, this web access is inbuilt in your SAP system. So for that, we will use ICM. It's called Internet Communication Protocol. So the ICM is the one which receives the information from web browser. Let's assume from your web browser, from internet, you get one request. This request could be ABAP request, or it could be also Java request. As we know, if you are in the same network, we will use the SAP GUI to log into the ABAP engine using the dispatcher. So when it comes from internet, this ICM will decide whether the request what they got is a Java related request or it's an ABAP request. So based on ICM decisions, ICM will forward this request to specific location, because as you know, in ABAP also you have ABAP Webdin Pro, where you can have web browsers enabled, or you can also receive web requests directly to your ABAP engine. So in that case, ICM will check whether this request is supposed to go to ABAP, then it will go to ABAP. In case if it is a Java request, then it will go to the J2EE dispatcher, to the Java engine. Okay, the ABAP and Java engine is connected using JCO connections. JCO is also like an RFC connections, which will communicate internally between ABAP as well as the Java engines. This is how the web request works in our SAP system. With this, we are coming to the end of this particular session. Thank you very much for listening. I will see you in the next session. Bye-bye.